As you begin to jump into the world of classes and objects, you're going to come across a term and a functionality called a constructor. And so in this video, I want to kind of explain what a constructor is, and then in a separate video actually write some code, and I think it'll kind of really make it clear to you. Alright, but first of all, let's talk about the theory behind a constructor. Now, a constructor is a special function inside a class. Now let's back up just a minute. In previous videos we talked about what a class is. A class is simply a blueprint. It's a set of code that we're going to base memory objects on, and then we're going to carry out various program functionalities using that code in a class that is instantiated as an object in memory. Well, whenever we take that class and create a new object, the object has to be constructed in memory. Okay? And so the constructor is what goes through the process, or that starts that process of creating that object in memory. But for our purposes, a constructor allows us to create our objects with specific data as part of that object when it gets initialized. Now what this does is it saves us a couple of steps in working with the object. It also lets us do some cool things as far as to what specific object gets created. Now here's the bottom line. A constructor is a function that has the same name as the class. Now in a previous example, and if you go back and look at defining a class or creating objects, we created a very simple class called cat. And so our cat class had age, name, weight, those kinds of properties. But when we created an object off of that cat class, there was a constructor in there with the same name, and it was a function called cat. Now we didn't see it and we didn't write it, but it's in there nonetheless. The compiler takes care of that. Well, when we're talking about working with a constructor, we're going to create our own constructor, and we're going to put that function in there with the same name. It won't have any return data type, and here's the big thing: constructors can be overloaded. Now I'm hitting you with more C++ terms. They're object-oriented programming terms, and they're not necessarily unique to C++, but they're very much a part of C++. The overloads, if you'll go back, if this is all new to you and you're getting a bit confused, go back and look at the movie entitled Function Overloading, because we're going to do the very same thing to a constructor, and you'll see that we've got a really neat little set of power here that we can use when we're working with our own classes and when we are creating objects off of our own classes. Alright, now this is a lot of talking just to explain what a constructor is. Okay, the bottom line is a constructor is a special function that we can put in a class that lets us create an object a number of different ways. So join me in the video entitled Using a Constructor, and we'll build one in code, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.